What's going on, everyone? Welcome. Yes. Elevate Insight podcast number 3 already. Aitiya, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good today. Yesterday, I went to the gym. I trained my chest and arms, and it definitely did kill me, but I'm excited for the podcast today.
But that's good to hear. Nice. So you went to the gym.
Yeah, I don't usually do my chest, but it was the first time that I did it. Definitely pushed myself, but it was a good burn.
Yeah, I have to say, if that's not something that you do on a regular basis, then that burn is crazy. So kudos to you.
I definitely feel it.
Nice. Well, that's actually a great bridge to the podcast that we have today, because we're going to talk a little bit motivation, a little bit discipline. I believe you prepared some questions for me.
I actually did.
Nice. So I'm going to do my absolute best to answer them. So let's start.
All right, so let's dive in. My first question that I have for you is, why do people keep starting over every Monday?
The famous, like, I'm going to start with something, then I quit, and then, oh yeah, you know what? Next Monday, I'll start again.
Yep.
I think everybody knows that one. So I think it's because whenever you're going to do something new, it's quite hard to stay consistent with it at first. And you also always have that voice, that voice that says like, I don't feel like it, or I'm too tired, or I feel a little bit sick.
Yeah, I definitely also have that voice in my head.
Yeah, I think everybody does. Me too. However, like, what made the difference for me a few years back is when I started preparing myself for that voice to come, basically. So whenever I made that commitment, motivation is high at the moment that you say, I'm gonna go to the gym or I'm gonna eat healthy. At that moment, motivation is sky high. So at that moment, what helped me is also kind of create a plan for the moment when motivation is lower. And what I did is like, okay, now when I don't feel like going to the gym in 3 days, because now my motivation is high, but in 3 days when I have to go to the gym and I don't feel like doing it, this is what I do. So you actively make a plan for the moment you feel weak. And that really, it sounds simple, but that really helped me push through some of those moments when I don't feel like doing something. Because at that moment you're like, the weak voice comes in, it starts talking rubbish to you, it starts talking to like, you're tired, you deserve a rest day today, maybe next Monday. And then you're like, there it is. This is what I've prepared for. And then you're like, now this is the moment where I have to push through and I have to do it because this is what I prepared for. So it's like a little mental trick that I play with myself in order to overcome that voice that kind of ruins your plans that you have.
Yeah, and your motivation also.
Yeah.
No, I can definitely relate to this. So usually me and my friend, we always like meet up to go to the gym together.
Nice.
And last Monday, so like a couple days ago, I was messaging her, are you up today to go to the gym? And she was like, no, not today, but we will go on Thursday.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's unfortunate, but I love going to the gym with a gym buddy, so you're together, you talk between sessions. And
of course, that's nice. Yeah.
Going alone is kind of like, everybody's gonna look at me, I don't know what I'm doing all on my own.
Yeah.
Then you kind of lose the motivation to actually go to the gym.
Yeah.
So I didn't end up going because she was not there. But yesterday, a friend was like, did you do the workout I told you to do? I was like, no, I didn't. And I actually felt bad that I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, I have to go to the gym now. And then that evening when I got home, I was sitting on the couch. I was like, I could really be standing in the gym right now.
Yeah.
And also because it was like a new exercise, I didn't know what to do exactly. I was like, maybe I'll do it another day. If I go another day, I'm probably also gonna be like, well, I don't want to do it actually.
Yeah, same excuse, different day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then I was like, no, I have to push myself, even if it's just for like 30 minutes that I'm there. I will end up feeling good after my session. So I put on my clothes, walked to the gym, and I did it. And then I felt really proud of myself after
Right.
doing it.
Yeah, and
Yes.
that feeling is amazing, especially when you're able to beat that little voice in your head. If you're able to conquer that's power, you know.
Yeah.
And if you can do it then, you can do it more often. And the more often you do it, the easier it gets as well. So,
Exactly.
so yeah, nice.
But I also think because it was a promise that I made to a friend that you feel like you have to uphold it. But when it is a promise to yourself, you're more easily tended to break that promise. So that also
course.
ties into my next question. When did you last break a promise to yourself?
So 2 days ago, actually. Yeah. Yeah, 2 days ago. You know what? I'm not perfect. But-
Nobody is.
No, that's why. But it was actually, I take cold showers every morning. It's so cold outside, and uh, but I still do it just because of the health benefits and the mental benefits, like specifically. Um, and 2 days ago, I was like, nah, I don't really feel well. My throat was hurting a little bit. I was tired. I barely had any sleep because Aveo, my baby, he wasn't having a great night, so he didn't sleep a lot. And Navea was sick as well. So two sick kids
yeah.
equals no sleep for the parent. So I was kind of feeling sorry for myself. And then in the morning I was like, no way, I'm not going to go and take that cold shower. Not today. I don't feel well. I deserve not to take it. Basically, those were all the bad voices. So I didn't do it. And you know, I felt like, why didn't I just do it? I could have just done it, but it wasn't my weak moment. And then I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let's pick it up again tomorrow, right away. Get right back into that zone. Even though you had a slip up, that doesn't define you, you know? No. So that's also the thoughts that I had, like, okay, you missed once. Don't let that be your new story. Just go straight back into your healthy habits and get on with the plan. Get your focus back and continue. So that's what I did. So yesterday and today I took the cold shower again.
Very good of you.
Thank you.
But it is difficult to like break your promise and then you feel like, okay, tomorrow is going to be a better day. Tomorrow I'm going to do it. And you actually did it. So kudos to you. But when did you become this person who actually shows up and also like listens to the promise you make to yourself?
That's such a good question. That actually happened when I started let's say I started making my goals less big, if that makes sense. So earlier I wanted to do cold showers, I wanted to meditate, I wanted to have a huge business, I wanted to be super fit, I wanted to have a six pack, and I wanted to be super strong and bulky and muscular and I was comparing myself to people that had all those things already and were maybe 10 years ahead of me. And it seemed too good to be true. Like, it seemed out of reach for me, which is why I had a hard time showing up, because it was like, I would probably never be able to get to that point. So, huge insecurity factor. And then at one point I was like, you know what? Let's just try and not change my whole diet at once. Let's take diet as an example, but let's just try and stop with soda and start drinking water. And that's the only thing I did. And I started drinking water, no more sugary drinks, and like 1 or 2 weeks in, I was like, okay, this is a habit now. And then I was like, okay, now with the water thingy, what else can I layer on top? Oh, well, let's add going to the gym or jumping rope. to the mix. Then all of a sudden, I was adding a sport. Then that became a habit as well. So then I was drinking water and I was working out. Then I was like, oh, okay, now, let's cut the late night cravings that I had because I like to snack
I mean,
late
who
night.
doesn't?
Yeah, right. So that was a real weakness of me. And long story short, I kept adding on these mini things on top of each other. And a few months in, everything changed. My whole diet changed. The way I went to the gym changed. My whole routine changed. My body changed. My mindset changed. And then when I look back and say, like, how did I actually did it? It was really by stacking those mini things on top of each other rather than trying everything at once, because that was just not achievable for me. It was more of a dream than actually a plan.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like when you think about the goals you set up for yourself, they are always like so grand, and you know it takes a long time to finally get to the point, but to actually start, because like the end goal or the finish is so far away.
Yeah.
It is harder to motivate yourself to begin because immediately you want to do it right.
Yeah.
Or immediately, like in the gym, for example, hit a new record.
Yeah.
So that's also, I think, why people struggle a lot with the motivation to even start, because the end goal is like so far to reach.
That's so true.
I also kind of struggle with this because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get super fit, super toned. I want to eat healthy. I want to drink more water. I want to journal, like everything. And I'm like, okay, I want to do all of that, but where do I actually start?
Yeah.
And also, I'm thinking back to my gym session like a couple days ago. I was like, I got a new jump rope actually.
Nice.
And I was like, I want to try this out. Like, am I gonna do it? I'm gonna do cardio. I want to hit 5K steps. I'm also gonna add the jump rope on top of it. And then I was like, do I need to do a 20-minute session? And I was like, I'm not up for it. I already did the arm workouts. I already walked. And I was like, okay, no, I have to do it. And then I ended up like Googling like a 7-minute jumping video. And I actually did it. So kind of lowering the bar for yourself is also like a great way to keep your motivation up, so you can really celebrate the small wins and eventually keep on evolving, growing, setting new goals.
100%. And those mini wins, those create momentum, and if you have momentum, it's easier to keep going. So great story.
Exactly. So a different question. Do you think that motivation really is a problem?
I do think well, I don't necessarily think motivation is the problem. I think habits are a problem. And why do I say it like that? It's because motivation comes and goes. Like, you feel motivated one day, the next day you don't. Then you feel motivated again, and the next day you don't.
Yeah.
And if you let motivation be the guide of your achievements, then you will probably not get very far, because it's just a fact. You will not be motivated every single day. That's just a fact. Nobody is. Me neither. But once you start creating habits around certain behaviors that will get you closer to your goals, that's where the magic happens. And I think most people rely on motivation too much and don't focus enough on creating habits around behaviors that will get them closer to their goals.
That is very good advice, because I'm always like, well, I'm not motivated to go to the gym. But if you really like create a habit or a pattern, like one day in the week I will be in the gym, for example, then you kind of can, as I said, develop slowly, go up to 2 times in the week, 3 times.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really have to do with motivation. Like, you can be tired, you cannot be tired, whatever. But if you just have a habit, like you will be there once, doesn't matter what day, what time. If you
Exactly.
just do it, I think that is enough.
Exactly. And things that are habits cost less energy as well, in my opinion. For me, it's super normal to work out every day because it's a habit now. But I also know a few years back when it wasn't normal for me, I had to drag myself to do a workout and it cost me so much mental energy. And I can completely understand that a lot of people are still in that space. But the moment that I start doing it consistently, started forming a habit out of it by doing it consistently, it started getting way more easier. Even now, sometimes I get the question, how do you get the energy to work out like 6 days a week and run your business and have kids and do all this kinds of stuff that you do and record content and everything and the traveling and stuff? How do you do it? And I'm like, most of the things are just normal to me. So they cost so much less energy than when you just start out with them. So I think creating habits is one of the most important things to learn to reach your goals.
That's good information. Very good. Well, a bit of a different topic, but as I also mentioned before, I usually go to the gym with a friend, and recently I also got some advice on workouts to do, and that's when I kind of feel guilty that I'm not going to the gym, and then I'm really like pushing myself to show up, to listen to them. So why is it that we actually show up for everyone except ourselves?
Yeah, because nobody's watching, basically. If you make a commitment to yourself, the only one that you can disappoint is yourself, basically. And for some reason, people don't really care about that as much as they care about hurting someone else. So, for example, if you have a kid and you promise your kid something and you cancel it, your kid is disappointed in you. So that's why you try to uphold your promises. Same for that friend situation that you just told me about. If you cancel on your friend will be disappointed, and you don't want to, have a friend that's disappointed in you. However, we oftentimes forget is that we are also disappointing ourselves when we not listen and uphold ourselves to the agreements that we make with ourselves. And this in turn has a very negative impact on the way that we see ourselves without us even knowing it. Because let's say for example, if your best friend, the first time she cancels on you, you're like, okay, can happen. Second time she cancels on you, you're like, not sure if I'm gonna keep trusting her. Third time she cancels on you, you're like, oh, definitely not trusting on her again. Like, this is the third time in a row. So if I want to do something, I better go do it myself. The same happens in the relationship with yourself. If you keep canceling on yourself, the way that you see yourself, the trust in yourself goes down and down and down and down, up until the point that every time you want to try something new, that inner voice is telling you, like, well, you're probably not gonna make it because you've been canceling on yourself so many times in a row. The beautiful thing about this is that it also works the other way around. So, for example, you make a promise to yourself. Let's say a mini commitment of drinking 1 glass of water after you woke up. And you do it for a specific time period. You drink the glass of water. You're like, I said I was gonna do something and I did it. You layer on top, okay, I'm not gonna drink any soda anymore. You keep that promise to yourself as well. You're not drinking any soda. Another promise that you made a reality. Every time that you promise yourself something and you do something, that image gets restored. Up until that point that you actually start believing in the stuff that you're saying to yourself. And this starts with something small as drinking a glass of water in the morning, but can actually grow as big as building the body of your dreams, or creating a global company in something you truly believe in. Because at one moment, if you've made so many promises to yourself that you know that you can look in the mirror and say to yourself, like, if I say something, then I'm the person that follows through and does it. The power in that is unlimited. And I truly believe if you can get to that point, that you can really do anything you set your mind to.
Yeah, they're basically just unstoppable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I truly believe. So that's why I always recommend everybody start with something small, keep your promise, your small promise, and build on top of that small promise you made to yourself. And in a year, when you had a year of promises to yourself that you've been fulfilling, look at what that does with your result, and also with the way that you look at yourself when you look into the mirror.
Well, this kind of also touches upon the next question I actually had for you. That was, how do you go from I should exercise to I am someone who exercises? So you mentioned like building habits, which eventually turn into rituals, which eventually just become normal to you.
Yeah.
But is there like a different step or level that also works in this sense, from how should I exercise to am I someone who exercises?
Show up. That's all I have to say about that. Just show up the first time. Then don't think about the big picture, like I want to work out 5 times a week and I want to have this amazing body, or I want to be this super athlete that does backflips or super jump rope tricks or whatever. Focus on the next step and show up. Make sure to reach that next step and show up for that next step. Exercise number 1, you have one mission. Show up to that workout. Exercise after that, next step. Show up to that second one. Then show up to the third one. And keep doing it. Don't let anything get in the way of that. And prioritize that moment for yourself, but also for everybody around you. Because some people also, a lot of people, they have a lot to think about. Maybe they have a spouse, or maybe they have children, or school, or work. Life's busy. But once you start prioritizing that moment for yourself and make sure you are there at that moment and do that for, let's say, a specific time period of 2, 3, 4 weeks, then it starts becoming a habit. And as soon as it becomes a habit, you are somebody who says, I am somebody who exercises. When it's your new normal and not something that's out of the ordinary.
So showing up not only in the gym, but especially showing up for yourself is, I guess, the key.
Super important. Yeah, that's the most important thing. And a lot of people think it's selfish to show up for yourself, but it's actually not. What you're doing is filling your cup. And with a filled cup, you can actually pour a lot of water in everybody's cup around you. So in a way, you're also helping all the people around you. Because if you are a better person, you feel good about yourself, you are in high energies, this will also rub off on people in your direct surroundings. They look at you and they see somebody that inspires them to do better in their own life. They look at you and they see somebody who is doing the things that you also want to do. You take that little bit of motivation and you start and try doing it for yourself to eventually create your own habits and let yourself be the inspiration for the next person in your surroundings. And I think it all is connected with each other. Like one person's energy can affect another person's energy, and another person's energy, and another person's energy. So I'm like, just do everything in your might to make that energy positive, so you can be the positive change in your direct surroundings, and that can multiply in that way.
That's very good information, and also I think very wise words. I will definitely take those with me. But we kind of talked about how you can evolve within, from going to exercising to being a person that actually exercises and just like showing up for yourself in general. But what about people who are still a little bit stuck in the mindset that they are not a fitness person, for example? How would you help them reach their goals?
Yeah, it's very common. I've been there myself as well, and it's a huge limiting belief. And I think being aware of limiting beliefs is a huge step forward, because if you can get yourself, if you can catch yourself during the time that you have those limiting beliefs, this is the moment where you can actually do something about it. But if you're not aware that limiting beliefs are a thing, then it's very hard to spot when you have one, and even harder to do something about it. And if you're telling yourself like, oh, I'm not a fitness person, this doesn't come from a place of facts. This comes from a place of comfort, because it helps you stay where you are. And our mind is actually designed specifically for that, to keep us safe. So if anything feels uncomfortable, our mind is designed and wired to come up with all kinds of stories why we shouldn't do that new uncomfortable thing. But this is where the growth zone is, in that uncomfortable space. And just being aware of that little bit of knowledge might help you push through those limiting beliefs. So it's, I think, a knowledge gap, and providing that knowledge can help a lot of people get over that.
So, what I actually was thinking, just as you said it, like getting out of their comfort zone, people always like, oh, they refer to their comfort space, comfort habits, rituals, etc. But I think we maybe should label the comfort zone the growth zone instead, so people might be more encouraged to actually push themselves further. So, with these people who have these limited beliefs, as you said, do you also think that they can be too hard on themselves?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Because they're already taking their own growth away by labeling themselves as incapable of doing something. And I definitely feel that's being too hard on yourself. And I truly believe that most people have way more potential than they think they have, because of these limiting beliefs. So I would recommend everybody, if you have a goal and you haven't been able to achieve it, to really look into the mirror and think, do I really want this? If the answer is yes, did I really do everything in my might to get it? And then from there, start creating a plan. If the answer is no, then make sure you do it. And if the answer is yes, then maybe you're on the wrong path. That could also be a possibility. But I definitely do think that most people haven't even scratched the surface in terms of their capabilities, and what they can or cannot do. So that's what I believe.
And to make it a bit more personal, are you ever too hard on yourself?
I think I am, but I don't necessarily think, for me, that's a bad thing. Like when I hear too hard, too in my too is never good in my
When something is too
experience.
much.
You know, when something is
Yeah.
too, it's never good. Um, but I don't necessarily think that it has a negative impact on me as a person or on my direct surroundings, because I actually thrive under pressure. And where there's a lot of pressure, I actually get super motivated and pumped to like go for it. And at this moments when there's extreme pressure, I just have this, like, my mechanism to cope with that is to lock in and really, really go for it. Like give it my best and all. And this also results in an unbalanced life at some points. And I say like, okay, this might not impact my direct surroundings, but it does impact my direct surroundings because if there's a lot of um, um, things that can go wrong and the pressure is super high, I lock in to fix it, but that means that I have less time with my family, for example. So it does impact my direct surroundings. And sometimes I picture, but let's take business for example. Like when something goes bad with the business, I completely lock in on the business and make sure it gets solved. Um, but sometimes, getting back at your question as being too hard, sometimes I don't have to completely lock in at that moment of time because it will be all right anyway. But for my own like feeling of comfort, I think I want to completely lock in so it's sorted and it's fixed and we can move on for our future, you know? So I think at those moments, those are moments that I might be too hard on myself, but I don't think it has a very negative impact on, at least not for me as a person, maybe on my surroundings a little bit. But yeah.
Or maybe it's just because you're very passionate about the things you do that you really push yourself and lock in, as you said.
Yeah.
But how you mentioned lock in also got me thinking about my best friend again. Because when we're together in the gym and we're hitting the final reps, and she's like, I cannot do it anymore. I'm like, lock in, you can do this.
You can do it.
So this mentality, it really can help people, I think, just not to be too zoned in, too focused.
Yeah.
But it is a good thing that you push yourself, actually. But how did your journey with motivation, lock in, not listening to the little voices in your head that are discouraging you, actually get you to the place that you finally are at peace with yourself? And what does that feel like?
Yeah, you know, when you start doing things that are in line with the person that you want to become and the goals that you want to achieve, it actually feels really fulfilled. Like every day you wake up with a purpose, you wake up with pride, and you wake up with a feeling of energy, like unlimited energy. That's the word that's how I would describe it, because you're in a constant flow state, constant. You're working on something that gives you energy, and that energy that you get, you're able to put back in, and it gives you even more energy. And that energy you're able to give to your business, to your spouse, to your kids, to your colleagues, to everybody around you, which in turn give you more energy to pour in. And it's like a constant, it's like a flywheel of positive momentum, if I could describe it like that. And if you're working on something that can give you that, it gives you a sense of ease, a sense of fulfillment, a sense of I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Wow. Well, I'm still working on myself to get to that place, to feel at ease, to feel fulfilled. But we talked a lot about habits and motivation today. But what do you want the person who's listening today to actually take away from this and kind of give as a tip so they can start now, today, tomorrow, a year from now? Who knows? But what is the main tip that you would give the person watching?
Start with one thing. That's what I would say. Start with one little habit that you want to change and build upon that. Even whether that's going to the gym once a week, buying a jump rope and jump rope 10 minutes a day, drink a glass of water every day when you wake up, stop drinking soda. Like, choose one thing that's in line with the bigger goal that you have, and start layering on top small habits. And in 6 months, look back how far you've came. Just promise to yourself that you will not give up on the habits that you create, because every broken promise to yourself is a direct hit on your self-esteem. But every kept promise to yourself is a direct boost of your self-esteem. Now, knowing that, make your choice the next time you make a commitment to yourself.
Wise words. A very good tip. I will definitely use it myself. But if I'm thinking to myself and I'm hearing this tip, like, choose one thing. And for example, my one thing that I want to start is going to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
But my pain point actually is, well, I have to go to the gym. I have to do 5 exercises then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can I kind of break these thoughts, these voices in my head that are saying like, oh, okay, we're gonna start the habit, but
yeah.
like, do you have any tips for that? Like, is there like a sweet spot for how many minutes you should be doing something, or just showing up?
Yeah, so I would, that's a good question actually, because this is different for every person. In your scenario, I would be because I've heard you talk a few times about exercises when you're going to the gym. So what is actually the reason, what is actually the problem or your struggles when you go to the gym? Is it not knowing what to do? Or is it not feeling like doing it? Or what's actually the issue?
It is sometimes a combination. It really depends on the exercise, but there are some exercises that I really just don't like doing at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that they're like helpful to achieve my goals.
Yeah. So in that scenario, it's like so and if you want to do those exercises to achieve your goals, but you don't feel like doing them because they're horrible.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And that's and that feeling of those exercises are horrible gets so big that sometimes you just
don't end up doing them
because you don't want to go through that pain. Yeah, it sounds like you have a problem. There's a problem in the relationship you have with that exercise, because instead of seeing that exercise as something that will actually get you to that point, you're seeing the exercise as something that hurts you. And I think if you change that relationship or try to change the way you view at certain exercises, that will help you do them even though they might not be nice to do. And why I say this is because I have the same with some exercises. Mm-hmm. When I do pull-ups, for example, I'm like, I don't like pull-ups at all. They're heavy. They're like, everything hurts. They're like, I'm like, why am I doing this? And then in my head, I know I'm doing this because this exercise is one of the best exercises there is. And the reason that it's one of the best exercises there is because it's this heavy. And the things that are heaviest and most challenging usually give you the greatest and biggest rewards. And there's a reason they're that heavy. And if you really, really want to reach your goals, then you have to ask yourself the question, like, how bad do you want it? And if the answer is really, really, really bad, then you just have to take it for granted. And every time that it hurts, you're like, yes, it hurts, and that's why I'm doing it. Because this pain is getting me to the next level. Without this pain, there's no growth. And unfortunately, the world is wired like that. Every time you go through a hard moment or through a painful moment, or your muscles are aching, or you're like, you're really, really struggling, start to love that feeling rather than hate it. Every time when you go up or you do a squat or anything that really hurts you, you have to be like, yes, this is how growth feels, and I'm growing. And if you start viewing it like that, your relationship with that exercise changes. And rather than looking against it, like, oh no, I really don't feel like it, you start looking forward to it, because that is your moment of growth. And the harder it is, the better you'll feel afterwards after you did it. Start thinking about that rather than that moment that you have to do it and it feels like shit, because that's how the world works.
Yeah, it's all about mindset. And something that I also came across a while back is like the concept of reframing. So for example, when you have these voices in your head saying negative thoughts like, I hate this exercise, it's so heavy, I'm gonna be in pain later, I don't want to do this, you have to like change the way you're thinking in that moment. Be like, hold on, stop, I can also look at this in a more positive light. Like, after the exercise, I'm gonna be proud of myself, I feel accomplished, I managed to lift that heavy weight, for example. Think about the positive effects that are gonna come from it, rather than thinking the negative effects that you get when you haven't even done the exercise, for example.
Yeah.
It's really just about changing the way you think.
Yeah.
That is the most important. Also with motivation, it's just take a second to stop the thoughts you're having and really look forward to the positive that can come from it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Powerful phrase from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's also that reframing phase. And that's so powerful. Like, the way you look at something determines how you feel about something eventually, and how you experience something. So that's beautifully put. Thank you for like putting that into this podcast as well, because that's gold. That's like the way you look at something eventually really, really plays a huge role in how you experience it.
Well, on that note, I would like to thank you for answering all my questions. I definitely learned a lot from you. I hope you also learned something as well today.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I really loved the topic we talked about and all the insights you gave. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this. Those were really good questions. Good work. Like, for some things, I really had to really think deeply. Like, okay, a lot of things go on in your head, but to then be able to explain them is quite tricky in a foreign language. So it's a good lesson for me as well, to start getting the things in my head to find a way to get them out into the world. So nice. Thank you for that. And
welcome.
For you, no, definitely. Thank you. And for you out there, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comment section below. Aitiya, thank you so much.
Of course.
Do you want to say?
It was my pleasure.
Nice. Do you want to say anything to the public before we close this up?
Yes, one last thing. We talked a lot about showing up today, so we hope we show up for the next one.
Nice. That's it. This was Elevate Inside podcast number 3. Bear with us. We're not pros, but we're trying. Show up, create stronger habits. See you on the next one.